It's Friday, April 3rd, 2026. Welcome to episode 197 of the Alameda Postcast, an audio service of the Alameda Post. I'm your host, Scott Peeler. In this edition of the Postcast, a small earthquake makes itself felt in Alameda. From melting snow to growing foxtails, Mother Nature's a bit grumpy. A city council preview, progress on parking and on no parking. A look back at Restaurant Week and No Kings, the latest real estate sales, and events that educate. These stories and more on this episode of the Alameda Postcast. Our top story: at about 1:41 Thursday morning, an earthquake of magnitude 4.9 was recorded in Santa Cruz. By 3 a.m., it was downgraded to a 4.6, but it was still enough to wake up some Alameda residents. Alameda social media was full of reports of people being woken up by the quake. Interestingly, as reported by SFGate, the quake was not located along one of the major mapped fault lines, according to Susan Huff, seismologist at the U.S. Geological Survey. According to additional reports, there were no aftershocks. Staying off island with Mother Nature for a minute, as reported by Paul Rogers of the Bay Area News Group, the Sierra Nevada snowpack just recorded its second lowest April 1st reading in history, checking in at 18% of normal. Remember those nice warm days in March? That's why. And that snowpack provides 1/3 of California's water. Thankfully, due to 3 consecutive wet winters, our reservoirs are largely full, which means we'll likely not see water restrictions. Essentially, we've got a buffer for one dry season, but if they start stacking up, could be trouble. As always, be smart about your consumption. One more natural note from across the bridges. As reported by the East Bay Times and other outlets, the Trust for Public Land has reached a $175 million deal to purchase Golden Gate Fields, the former horse racing facility. When the deal is closed, the property will be transferred to the East Bay Regional Parks District. Under the terms of the option agreement, the current owners, the Stronach Group of Canada, will remove all the buildings from the site. Those include stables for 1,420 horses and a grandstand that seated approximately 8,000 people. Golden Gate Fields will become part of an uninterrupted 8.5-mile stretch of public waterfront. Back in Alameda, one of nature's annual annoyances is upon us, at least upon those of us who own dogs. As Jeff Canberra's canine companion Moof reminds us, the foxtails are out in force. These spiky grasses have a nasty habit of burrowing into paws and requiring surgical removal. The worst-case scenario involves Fido inhaling a dry one. So keep your eyes open as you walk your furry friend. Jeff provides you with a good image of what to look out for in this week's Bear's Eye View column at alamedapost.com/alameda-life. Busy session coming up for City Council. Looking ahead to Tuesday, Council will consider a comprehensive update to the city's rent control ordinance, along with clarification of rent program fees and the elimination of an outdated Ellis Act policy resolution governing what happens when a landlord permanently removes rental units from the housing market. One central policy change would allow the Council to review certain hearing officer decisions when those rulings could undermine key elements of the ordinance. Currently, only tenants or landlords may seek judicial review. Other modifications: tenants displaced by an illegal eviction would have the right to return to their unit at the same rent and be reimbursed for moving costs. New rules clarify that permanent relocation payments apply only when displacement exceeds 7 days. Short-term relocation assistance continues to apply to shorter disruptions, such as those caused by repairs. Additional provisions aim to reduce repetitive hearings and ensure the timely filing of buyout agreements. Additional clarifications codify existing rent program practices, including documentation requirements for temporary rent reductions, full compliance standards before landlords can raise rent, and policies for single-room occupancy units and disability accommodations. In other business, Council will consider authorizing the acceptance of $2.64 million in Proposition 68 grant funding from the State Coastal Conservancy to implement Phase 3 of the Bay Farm Island Adaptation Project to address sea level rise. Council will also consider allocating $50,000 from the 2025-26 General Fund budget and $50,000 from the 26-27 General Fund budget to cover public works staff costs not funded by the grant. The project aims to remove the lagoon area of BFI from the 100-year floodplain, bolster the northern shoreline and the Bay Trail against erosion, and enhance shoreline habitat and public recreation. The city must accept the grant this month to meet state deadlines. Also on the agenda, amending contracts and agreements with Conger Moss Gilyard Landscape Architecture, Greenbelt Alliance, Community Action for a Sustainable Alameda, and the San Francisco Estuary Institute. For full details, including ways you can make your voice heard on these matters, see Karen Jensen's article at alamedapost.com/news. City of Alameda continues to make steady progress on the Civic Center parking structure renovation. Looks like completion now expected by the end of May. A new parking payment system will also be launched in the coming weeks, including a mobile payment option. The garage can be a money saver. Parking there is half the cost of nearby parking meters and the hours which you have to pay end an hour earlier than they do on the street. In addition to an overall spruce up, the project also includes multiple accessibility improvements. Upcoming work includes installation of security fencing, gates, electrical upgrades, and lighting improvements. Details at alamedapost.com/news. Speaking of parking, a shout out to the city's Public Works Department. I've needed no parking signs for moving day a few times. I've got a move coming up next week, and I have to say the new application form and system is a distinct improvement. I put my request in online when I woke up Thursday morning, and my signs were ready for pickup before noon. Extra thanks to Joshua Diamond of Public Works for seriously fast, friendly service. Well done, folks. Restaurant Week is behind us. The folks at Alameda Zine had a blast taking in their very first Restaurant Week. Check out their reviews of the offerings from Calafia, Hobnob, Marianne's Pavlovas, Pizzeria Papo, Shaka Shack, and Treats by Mrs. T. All the mouth-watering details at alamedapost.com/alameda-life. Another event to review, No Kings. Nationally, last Saturday's event drew, by some estimates, 8 million protesters. That would qualify it as the largest single-day protest in American history. There were 20 million people involved in the 1970 Earth Day events, but only about 3 million of those were actually protesters. Here in Alameda, about 1,000 people showed up for what was described as a family-friendly, action-oriented event. The rally featured speeches from Alameda Mayor Marilyn Ezzy Ashcraft, former Alameda County District Attorney Pamela Price, and Vietnam veteran Paul Hauser. Full story and pictures in Matt Carter's article at alamedapost.com/news. Time once again to take a look at the latest real estate sales. From St. Patrick's Day to March 30th, 16 homes changed hands, 10 in Alameda proper, 6 on Bay Farm. Prices range from $350,000 to $1,495,000. 10 properties above asking, 3 at listing, and 3 below. If you're looking for a pattern, the higher the price point, the more likely it is to have sold above listing. Average time from listing to offer, just under 4 weeks, but if you remove 2 outliers of 146 and 91 days, that average drops to just under 2 weeks. Full details in Liz Rush's article at alamedapost.com/real-estate. Have you tried to grow tomatoes here in Alameda? Gotten a little frustrated by the results? Our temperate climate can make growing tomatoes a bit tricky, but Margie Siegel's got a few points for you. Get all of her tips for tomatoes at alamedapost.com/nature.
I'm Bronwyn. I went to the California Historical Radio Society for a Sound Bites program. We got to record our own stories, try microphones, and learn how radio hosts do their jobs. There were awesome old radios and TVs from a long time ago. Go to chrsradio.org to learn how you can take part.
That's one of the students who stopped by the California Historical Radio Society in March for their second Sound Bites program. It was my pleasure to guide these future announcers as they stepped up to the mic. You'll be hearing more of these in the coming weeks. CHRS figures prominently in this week's All Around Alameda column, where Amanda Laird has curated some events that just might learn you something. CHRS and Retro Roadshow are exploring sci-fi and video game history at Playing with the Future on Saturday from 1 until 4 p.m., exploring the interconnected history of science fiction and video games. You'll want to RSVP for this one. On the subject of gaming, Pacific Pinball invites the next generation of pinball lovers to the Little Flippers class on Saturday from 11:30 to 12:30. All kids ages 5 to 12 are welcome. Celebrate Arab American Heritage Month at the Bay Farm branch of Alameda Free Library with a special presentation by Palestinian Tatriz artist Arman Sharif on Saturday from 2:30 to 4:30. Tatriz is Palestinian embroidery. Meanwhile, at the main branch on Saturday, a discussion of New Yorker short fiction stories. 11 a.m., the group will meet in the library cafe or outdoor back garden. Complete your journey into sophistication Saturday night at the Jane Austen Regency Ball at the Alameda Elks Lodge, 2255 Santa Clara Avenue. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. Newbies are invited to join the pre-ball workshop from 7 till 8 p.m. to learn dancing skills. Full details in the All Around Alameda column at alamedapost.com/alameda-life. Theatrically, Anything Goes continues at Altarena Playhouse, while Alameda High wraps up You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Last chance for that show Saturday at 7 p.m. Along with a little help from Ana Maria Rojas Munoz, Jean Kahane reviews both shows at alamedapost.com/arts. Jean will be my guest Sunday morning at 8 on the Alameda Connection on KCSM HD2. You can also stream the show from kcsm.org. We'll talk about theater, poetry, and the good work done by the food bank players. Find the Alameda Post on all the social media platforms, now including TikTok. Get the Postcast wherever you get your podcasts, or simply tell your smart device to play the Alameda Postcast podcast. I'm Scott Peeler, back next Friday with episode 198 of the Alameda Postcast.